Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, Bob's Garage. It's been a while since I've done a video. Really no reason for it, just been caught up with a few other things. Got a little short video for you. I always say that. I've got a video today. It's going to be on the changing oil on a Mercedes Benz W166 platform. That's basically 2012, I think, to 2019 or so. Mercedes Benz ML350. It's a diesel. It's all pretty much the same. Just a few little things. They'll give a little bit of information for somebody, average home mechanic might be doing this themselves, show where some of the shields got to be removed and some of the things got to look for in putting the oil and filter back in. Also got a new helper in the garage. Want to introduce you to Teddy. So Teddy is the new garage helper, and he's been taking up a whole lot of my time in the last little while. Hey, Teddy. So again, sit back, relax, and make sure you get some comments in. If somebody sees some things they think should be done different, certainly appreciate the comments. Helps a lot. Thanks for watching. Okay, so I got the car up on a ramp, so it's good and safe and get underneath there. One of the things I hate is wintertime oil changes, but it always seems to happen that way. I've got, so for the top, you've got to remove this cover. That is the location of the oil filter. And over here is the location for the oil fill. So this is a 2013 Mercedes-Benz ML350, but the configuration of these motors is very similar amongst all the families, so it's very similar. So this is the oil they use, and I'm not saying this is better than anything else. Use 7.4 liters, or according to the manufacturer's instructions, 7.4 liters. Interesting story though. This is actually a re-edit of this video. So what happened, might as well tell you so you can learn from me. So I went and looked up what the spec was for this oil, which was 229.51. So I went to Amazon, put in a search for 229.51, and what I came up with was a completely different product. I got an oil, I think it was Valvoline, I'm not 100% sure, but I got a Valvoline oil that was 229.5. So I never really looked into it. I said, okay, well, I guess that's the same. I should have looked further. There's a bunch of them, and every one I went into is the same. It was 229.5. Well, there's a big difference. This oil, 229.51, see if I can zoom in here. 229.51. I'll set this down. Right there, 229.51 and 229.31. There's like I said, 229.5 and 229.51. The one is for diesels. I didn't know that. So I was really fortunate. And again, so this is Pennzoil Euro L, fully synthetic. So I was really fortunate. I put the video in. I've actually bought that about 2 years ago. I normally buy the oil from Mercedes, but after the warranty expired, I started using this other product. It's only been a couple of years now. Car doesn't drive much, as I said. So I put this in. So I put the video on YouTube, and then first comment I got was, well, do you know that's the wrong oil? Not quite phrased that way, but that's the way it was. So anyways, the 0.5 is for gasoline engines. The 0.51 is for diesel. It's a low ash. That's really important because the diesel engines have the additive that goes into the exhaust for emissions purposes. So that's one piece of it. But more important, the higher ash content of the regular petrol or gasoline engines, the higher content, ash content, I guess, can clog up that whole DEF system. which will be very expensive. So I am extremely grateful for that feedback. This could have been a problem. Like I said, I've had 2 oil changes. The car doesn't travel enough to actually get up to the limit, but still, that's 2 oil changes where I used the wrong oil. So really important. So, mistake by myself, not really questioning myself why that was a 229.5. I just presume that's the same generic one, not realizing that with the Mercedes and my Volkswagen, I got a 503, a 504, a 507 type oil type. But the 0.51 versus 0.5 should have checked more. I just trusted search tool on Amazon, and that was stupid. And when I checked 2 or 3 different, it came up the same thing, even though I was searching for 229.51. So be careful. Watch out. Check what the manufacturer states. Check the backs of these bottles. Make sure you're getting the right spec oil. Makes a huge difference. Like I said, that would be an extremely expensive repair to take. So quite the lesson learned for me. I'm going to pay a whole lot more attention in the future. And again, my big appreciation to a viewer who pointed that out to me. I wanted to re-edit this video to make sure that kind of information is shared with everybody else as well. Oil is not all the same. And it's really important you get the proper quality of oil and the proper type of oil to make sure your car lasts as long, your motor lasts as long as it possibly can. Underneath, it's pretty straightforward. I'm going to turn the light on. Let's see if that's bright enough. Okay, so you've got the splash shield in the bottom. You've got 1, 2, and then right here you have another bolt there in the recess. And I believe it's 2 more at the back. So it looks like 6 bolts. Take it off. Now, what I've had to do in the past is I've had to loosen this shield up here as well to be able to get this loose. So I probably won't film this because obviously it's pretty straightforward. I can't remember its size. That may be a 10 millimeter. But get the shield off so we can get at the oil drain plug. Okay, a little bit of a correction. When I was taking this cover off, to the front, I missed these 2 right here. So there's 8 altogether. The back's hard to get off, so I wound up having to take, as I said, that panel off at the front. I'm going to turn the light on. So I had this panel here pretty loose to get the front of it out. So all that's left, glove, stuff's nasty. This is I think a 12 millimeter bolt, if I recall correctly. No, 13 millimeter drain plug, and I use an extension for the 8 millimeter bolts or screws that hold the splash shield on. And all you left to do, let's try to set you up there. All you have left to do is just pull the drain plug. Now the car's been run a bit, it's warm, not nearly as warm as it should be, but getting it engine up to temperature, and then draining the oil will allow it to flow better. We're a little bit lucky. It's probably about 8 degrees, about 5 degrees Celsius, maybe about 40 degrees Fahrenheit. So it shouldn't be too bad right now. And I'll let that drain for a while, and then we'll go up top and we'll start draining or pulling off the oil filter. In the meantime, I'm going to clean this out thoroughly, and I'll be wiping off the outside of the drain plug surface, the oil pan surface where the drain plug threads into. Just make sure you've got a good clean fitting. These have a little copper, you can probably just barely see a little copper washer. I keep forgetting to pick up a spare. There's only a certain amount of times. This will be the second time I've changed oil, not replaced the little copper drain plug, but it should be changed out. Okay, so I'll bring you back when that's drained out, and we can go back on the top and take a look at what needs to be done there. Okay, back up to the top. I'm going to take this cover off. 2 little snaps, in this case 1 because one's already broken off. Just pull them out gently and pull the air intake off, and then 4 rubber stop or plugs the whole damn place. Set that aside, and as I said, oil filter housing and oil filler. So for the oil filter housing, it always seems to be just a regular filter hose or filter wrench is the best to get it off. Now, hopefully I didn't tighten it too much last time. And while I get that off, the filter itself, pretty straightforward. Just plunks in a couple O-rings. Not even sure what the bottom O-ring is for, but it just slides in, and that's it. I suspect there's a drain on the bottom. Oh, I remember. Inside, there's a plastic sleeve that goes down the center. You'll see that when I take this off. And in the bottom of it, there's an O-ring. So the oil's still draining out the bottom. Going to clean all this thread off as well. This doesn't take too much force to close because it does have an O-ring on it. And what I'm going to do is, once I got this out, I'm going to clean, like I said, all the threads, and I'm going to clean the inside of the housing itself. Diesel has a lot of residue. It's probably overkill, but I still like to do it. So this is the guide like I was talking about before. It will snap off the top, but I'll leave it in place. There's a little O-ring there, it goes in the bottom. So I'm going to turn it upside down for now. I'll set that aside for now, but I will be cleaning out the inside, cleaning it off in general. And then the filter, there we go. I'm going to go get a container to catch that so it doesn't drip everywhere. So, like I said, give this a bit of a wipe. Diesel's being so sooty, just want to clean it out. I'll be wiping all the threads in here. So I want to make sure there's no binding going with the threads going in. So I'm going to clean them out thoroughly. And I'm going to get inside the cup in there. Again, none of this really matters. You can just slap a filter in there, but I always like to just make sure there's no excessive grit or take a look for anything that's inside. And right there is that little O-ring that would be replacing the one end as well. Everything looks good from here. Going to give it a couple more minutes to drain down, and I'll wipe all this all out. You're probably wondering why I'm not wearing gloves now. That was really larger to keep it from running down my hand when I was underneath the car. Doesn't seem like no matter how many precautions you take, when you change your oil in a diesel, it's going to be all over you one way or the other. So that looks good and clean on the inside. Again, just looking for any signs of any metal filings or or any like a sludge, but it looks pretty clean other than the soot. And like I said, the threads here inside the bowl. And I think we got a good start. Okay. So just a very fine little pick. Be really careful not to gouge it, but I just hook the edge of the pick underneath the O-ring so I can pull it over the threads. Just need to start it. That's garbage. Okay, so I've got the drain plug all cleaned up here as best I can, and now I'm gonna get the bottom of the oil pan at the face of it. Fair bit of, I guess, a little bit of corrosion there. Not going to help a whole lot. Put the plug back in. So I took a look again. This is a 13 millimeter. It's 30 Newton meters of torque, 20 foot-pounds. So I use a little wrench so I don't have torque it. It's easy to strip the threads in this. That sort of prevents it there. So about 20 foot-pounds. I'll try it again. Click. There you go. 20 foot-pounds. So I'm going to hop up to the top and I'm going to start putting some oil in. So I'm going to, as I said, just try to pre-lube the filter just a little bit. Well, I won't be pre-lubing that. And as I mentioned before, this is just to get the keep the motor from, I should have a funnel for this, keep the motor from running dry. So I'm just trying to fill the housing out. I can see it's sort of flowing over the outside, and that's because if I pour it down the center, it's just going to actually go right down inside the motor, which is okay. And I can see it's actually going through the filter pretty good, so I don't think that's going to work out. I'm just going to wind up putting the whole thing down in the crankcase. So I'll put this in. As I mentioned, I clean all the threads off. A little bit of oil on the filter itself, or the O-ring. Now, this goes to, I think it said 24. It's on the cover here, 25. 25 Newton meters, right on there. 25 Newton meters is about 18 foot-pounds. This is a little hard to get to. There. Again, it doesn't take much. That's good and snug. It's got an O-ring, so it's going to be tight. And now I can start putting oil into the motor. Just cleaning up here a little bit. So for the motor, 7 liters is what it takes. Now, one thing I've learned, this little piece gets all full of debris. So if you're not careful, you'll wash that debris down. So I can give that a wipe as well. So you can see I've wiped that all out. Still not as clean as I'd like it to be. Gonna clean all this up. it's worth a little extra time just to prevent anything from getting down inside the motor. I find, probably because I fall too close behind cars, I get a lot of sand up my motor, so I don't want to wash any of that down. Okay, drop this back on. Like I said, cleaned it all off, and I cleaned the inside of the cap, specifically on the mounting surface. Again, it looks fine, but you never know what might have got picked up. No way in, or say you want to take the cap off and put it back on, but I want to make sure the seal is good and clean. And okay, so not a sponsor, but we're up in the northwest, or northeast, I should say. We'll get a lot of corrosion forming. So I give a few little shots in a few spots that, just to keep that from getting too far ahead. So these little brackets here and there, some of the fittings, some of the bolts, it's just to keep them from getting corroded. This doesn't really do anything, but you never know when I'm going to have this off next, and I'm gonna hoping there's no stuck bolts. This product works pretty good. Just getting down and around the frame. This is, besides a lube, it's also a rust prevention as well, fluid film. Again, not a sponsor. Okay, so I got 6 quarts in. I'm going to put a bit of this and probably a little bit of black paint underneath the bottom. And I'm going to start it up. So this doesn't have an oil pressure gauge, but I'm going to start up again. There's probably ways to run it without cranking over. But because I pre-lubed the filter, everything's okay. So I'm going to run it for a couple of seconds, going to check for leaks. But again, drain plug, oil filter cap, there's not much to it. Okay. And you can hear it nice and quiet. No knocking, no low oil pressure indications. So that's great. Okay, so I just ran it just for a second. I'm going to grab the dipstick and just double check. So I've only got 6 quarts in there, but a whole lot harder to do this when the car's up on ramps. You only got 6 quarts, so I know it's going to be low, and being up in the ramps, it's really not sitting very level. Yep, so it's not even showing on the dipstick, so I'll be putting in another liter. Yeah, just starting to show up, but my suspicion is because it's on the ramp. So I'm going to pull that off. Or I should say put the dipstick back in. I'm going to put the cover back on, so no drips, that's all good, no surprises. Going to coat a little bit of rust prevention spray up underneath and secure it. I'm not going to record that because it's pretty straightforward. Put those 8 bolts back in. Okay, when I was putting the covers back on, I'll turn the lights back on. See if I can point. The very rear cover that's over the transaxle. I had to loosen the front 4 bolts on it as well, and lower it down to hook the tail end of the main splash shield, the engine splash shield up, and then I could do it. And I've worked from the back forward, tucking all the shields in and working the bolts forward. So I put them all in loosely and then put everything around. Got a couple nut certs, the nut clips that are stripped out to fix that next time. Everything's all back together here now. So I'm going to back it off the ramp, and I'm going to check oil level again. Okay, the last thing is to reset the service light. So I got an A1 service, which I think was just oil change. I think it was this oil change. And there's 2 ways of doing it. One is with a tool that connects up to the engine computer. That's the easy way. And the hard way is to use the key functions, or the functions within the car itself. So the first thing you do for that is you turn it to the on position. Make sure it's in the kilometers scale. So that then it goes to so make sure you're in kilometers. Then you do the call and OK. Try to get all my hands free here. Okay, so you do call and OK. Hold them. And then you get, go down to Assist Plus, scroll down, and you press the OK button, and then you get Full Service, which is down, press OK, and then you go scroll down to Confirm Full Service. I hope you all can see this. So scroll down to Confirm Full Service. OK. Oil grade 2251.51. Yes. And cannot be undone. Once done, hit the Confirm. OK. And then it should be okay. I'm not sure why it says Full Service. Okay, so I decided to use the diagnostic tool. I just couldn't get I got the A1 service to go away, but I couldn't get the check engine light. So I'm going to go to Ben's reset, oil lamp reset. This makes it a whole lot easier. Passenger car. Just following the instructions in this. So I'm doing a bit of a voiceover on this because me fumbling around there didn't really help out. What I think went wrong was I should have cleared the A1, A3, and A4 code first before I did the confirmation reset. So that got me a check engine light came on. I've read a little bit more about this from others. Seems to be what the issue is. And unfortunately, I can't clear it. You have to wait about 1,000 kilometers before you can clear the code. So I'll try that. And I haven't actually gone 1,000 kilometers to be able to see if it works, but it seems like that was the problem. Should have gone to A1, cleared that, A3, cleared that, then A4. Well, thanks for watching. The job was pretty straightforward. Nothing, no surprises. Hope you learned something from there. Biggest thing I have to do when I do that job is remember to retighten all the screws on the heat shield. There's so many of them. I always wind up forgetting a couple because you have to loosen so many off. And the other thing I learned, the car's been driven a while now. One thing I found out is, I mentioned in the video, I don't want to use that copper O-ring, but it has begun to leak. So I'll have to pull the cover back off, see if I can snug it up a little bit more, see if that takes care of it, but I'm probably stuck with it a while. Should have brought some washers, should just get a bunch of them when I do this job and store them, but I frankly completely forgot about it. They sometimes come with the filter, but not this time. Anyways, thanks again for watching.